So I'm going to read to you right now a little piece from my book. And I'm just going to pull it up now because of course, I don't have it pulled up. But it's in from book 2. And the book 2 is actually called Molina, and it's Molina's story, and it's the story of her and all of the people in her, smaller, you know, in her intimate circle of influence, of love, right? So the book is called, it's book 2, Molina, from my series Veil's Edge. And I'm reading this to you because this scene exemplifies an exile. And actually, this I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. So Oberon is a character that you will meet if you ever read these books. And he has come into the Eastern realm from the Western realm. And in the West, there's perpetual war. And he's a war vet, and he comes to the Eastern realm through a near death experience. So he goes through a couple of years of healing in this realm. He's received there. He lives a very different life and existence. He doesn't need to fight to survive anymore. But he has a demon who has been speaking to him ever since he left the realm. And how we represent demons, what demons represent to many of us is things that bother us, that haunt us, that are dark and ugly. And we all have at least one or something that we can think of that, we don't like, that we reject. And I propose that demons are simply just parts of ourselves that we can't integrate, we reject, we see as, you know, ugly, undesirable, that other people will not like. We can't be that. We reject it. We send them into exile. And so I'm going to actually give you a home play, but all I'm going to do right now for this session is read it. And then you'll have to open up the home play to see what I want you to do with it. Okay? So again, this is Oberon's demon, and it's been calling to him, and mostly when he tries to sleep. And here we go. All right. So it's called Silassss with lots of S's. Silassss. For 3 days, through the dusty red hills of sand and rock of the Badlands, Oberon followed the sound, the call, the beckoning of one word, come. It was not an alluring call, not a siren song, not a beautiful voice, but a command from something deep and dark and unignorable, undeniably solitary. It was a call he had been hearing in his head every day for as long as he could remember. Sleep not being a relief from the incessant whispering, but a hollow cavern where it was the only thing he could hear, the only thing he could imagine. Despite the 2 years he had spent in the Eastern realm, his dreamscape remained one of nightmares, and sleep did not provide rest but gripped him in its chokehold of terror. 3 days ago, shoved once again from sleep, panting and sweaty, Oberon decided it was time to listen, to follow, to finally set eyes upon what it was that would not leave him be. Instead of relying on Hoku to hold him gently, steady, to remind him with his unending patience every night, Oberon wanted to remember to breathe himself. So he climbed the foothills for 3 days, until he came upon the cave as night fell. Oberon made a fire to warm himself and sat to eat the fruit he had packed in his burlap bag and to drink from the canteen Octavia had fashioned for him when he entered the realm. Though he fully expected it, having sought the source, despite the fact that it was one of his oldest companions, the voice still set his heart racing, his breath almost forgotten. Come, it hissed. Since his earliest days as an officer in the Empire's army, and more so since his liberation into the Eastern realm, the voice was ever present during each fitful sleep. Night after night, in the cold and sterile barracks between battles, in the battered tents that stretched for miles, housing soldiers quiet but never resting, past events played out as if he were there again, back to the blood-soaked fields as he fought the enemy to the death. Each dawn, the battle began anew. Haze from the last day's gunsmoke mingling with the morning mist, a thin, gray blanket pulled over the fields, over the still faces of the fallen. But in those dreams, the faces of those he slaughtered in the name of glory, of righteousness, of survival were those of his parents. An orphan child dazed atop the rubble that buried his mother. Young Langston, who only wanted to return to his young betrothed and be a father to his child. And what was, in the end, glorified or righteous about what he had done? In the end, all his battling and killing did was allow him to live another day, and another, and another, in the same glitching flashes of yesterday's hell. How many Langstons had he killed in the name of what no longer made any sense to him? Now that the sounds of the bombs had cleared from his head, leaving so much empty space, an echo chamber for the voice to fill. This time, the dark voice lured him from a particular direction. This time, there was something or somewhere to come to. This time, he was beckoned into the yawning mouth of the cave beside him, a destination, an end point. The day of reckoning was here, finally. Inside the firelit cave, Oberon first saw its twisting shadow dance on the walls, then laid eyes upon the creature itself. Of course, it was waiting for him. There was no need for formalities, no need for introductions or small talk. Oberon, you have come at last, the creature greeted. Yes, Oberon answered, stubbled face still as the rocks he climbed to get there. I know why you occupy my dreams, he continued. I have much to atone for. I do not deserve anything more. Yes, and you expect me to be this wretched ghoul squatting in the shadows waiting to torture you, to rip apart your flesh and eat the soft organs beneath after I crack your hard shell, the creature hissed. And that is what I am, because I am what you think you understand about pain. What are you then? Oberon asked, his expression not changing despite the creature's graphic words. I am both a product of your fear and also embody fear itself. I am made of it, and it has deformed my hunched and twisted bones that writhe beneath my blackened skin. It has given distorted resonance to my mocking voice, laced it with laughter without the music of joy. Silassss eyed Oberon with its glowing red eyes that blazed with suffering. You have relegated me to dark and damp caves, it continued, exiled and alone without air or light after everything I have done to keep you alive. You have starved me and expected me to ask for less, but only in the starving do I need for more. And so I lure you here to feast on the only thing you freely give, your fear. Silassss moved slowly from the shadows to circle Oberon as he continued to speak. I am everything you do not want to see. I am everything you do not want to hear. I am your creation, and in essence, I am you. I am Silassss, and I will not be silenced. I am Silassss, and I will be known. In all of his years in battle, Oberon had never faced anything so horrifying, yet he stood before the prowling beast who awaited his response, slowly realizing what the creature wanted, what he needed, his fear melting into compassion for his creation. Then Oberon declared in the voice honed and chiseled from his years as a commanding officer, I see you, Silass. I hear you, Silass. You are known. His voice resounded in the echo chamber of the stone walls. Oberon watched as Silass's expression unhinged itself, surrendered from tight, narrowed eyes and curled lip to the softening, the widening, the opening of surprise, of absolute relief. His fists fell open in receivership, where the blood began to flow once more through his fingers. His mangled body shuddered with a single sob. I am known, Silass repeated the alchemical incantation. I have been reknown. Then, with not a hint of mocking, he looked to Oberon and said, Thank you. Thank you, Oberon replied. Back out into the fresh air of the Badlands, Oberon nimbly picked his way through the rock, descended the hills, lighter than he had been since a child, holding his mother's hand in the thistle-peppered grass behind their house. The only voice in his head was the long exhale of the breeze.